so much of a technical player myself. What I do is express. That's what I do.
Hello and welcome to Beatitude. I'm Clive Morgan.
And I'm Robert Roberts.
And tonight we're going to be discussing Brian Jonestown Massacre, and in particular the enigmatic genius of a frontman, Anton Newcombe. And we're going to sort of touch on the roots of a lot of people's sort of discovery of this band, the 2003 documentary Dig.
Well, this documentary has been given 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is quite says a lot about it, and says how what a great documentary it is. I actually think it's a very underrated documentary.
I love Dig. I think it's the greatest musical documentary out there.
Yeah, I rank it like that as well. I put it right up there with any musical documentary.
But it's Spinal Tap as well in so many ways.
It's the real Spinal Tap.
It's a real Spinal Tap, yeah.
Rock.
It's not supposed to be funny, but it actually is. It's not supposed to be tragic, but it actually is. And it goes all the way up to 11.
Yeah. Oh, I think it goes up to 24. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's probably the most funniest rockumentary you can watch, I think. And it's sort of where do you really begin to start with it, really? But it was released in 2003.
Yeah, that's what we first watched it, wasn't it? It was our introduction to the Brian Jonestown Massacre.
It was certainly mine. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that I was that
same.
or knew
same.
About the
I think it was
Jonestown.
most people's, unless you lived in San Francisco, where the scene was.
I do remember various sort of posters in the NME when I was younger, and maybe a friend of mine mentioning what a cool name that was.
Yeah,
but that was about it, really. I never ventured and bought any of the records.
They've been really hard to get hold of them, to be honest. I wouldn't have before that documentary came out. It was still quite hard afterwards. I remember struggling in the record shop to get them.
Yeah, did you actually to find them
with distributors and stuff? Because Anton produced his own albums and he didn't play with a man with record labels. It was Bomp Records, wasn't it?
Yeah. Bomp
so it was finding a distributor. Say when I had the record shop was quite hard, but so it wasn't easy to. We didn't, YouTube was in its infancy. Well, was it even out then? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can't remember actually.
But you couldn't access music like you can now. We had no Spotify. You had no, So you should listen to the radio.
Still traditional sort of mediums like CD and wasn't it?
Yeah, because their first album came out in '95, wasn't it? Methatrone came out in '95, and. So back then...
It's mad to think that they were actually formed in...
I don't think the internet was out in 95, was it? Was it? I don't know.
It was in its infancy.
Yeah, it must have been.
In some sort of academic...
Some geek spaceman.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about the documentary then. That's quite a good inroad to the band, isn't it?
Yeah.
Both bands, really.
Yeah, both bands and the Dandy Warhols.
Yeah.
No, definitely. What do you really sort of think is the crux of the documentary? What do you think it is actually about?
So the filmmaker, Andy Tomina, filmed this over 7 years. And these two bands, that great friends at the time, weren't they? When she first started filming, it didn't quite go that way towards the end of filming, I don't think, especially after it was released. But she started filming the two bands, Brian Jonestown Massacre and Dandy Warhols, on their sort of road to success and fame and infamy, and maybe the Jonestown's case. And I think for me, the overall, what I took from it anyway, was that, it's that sort of battle of commercial success over artistic integrity.
Yeah, no, I would say that. I think it's a clash between art and commerce.
Yeah.
And it's sort of seen through the eyes of the Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and it centres around both bands developing careers and the relationships, particularly between the two frontmen, Courtney Taylor and the Mad, Bad and Wonderful.
Definitely. I think one review of the documentary called it like almost the musical version of Cain and Abel, which I quite liked.
I like the one on. Is it on the actual DVD? God, we are sounding old.
Yeah.
Is it on the DVD? There's a tagline. This is the real Spinal Tap or something.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
which sums it up.
Totally.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So this is a must watch. It was released in 2003. The documentary Dig. It went on to win the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance in 2004, and has since, only found out recently, it's been placed in the New York Museum of Modern Art for its permanent collection.
High praise indeed.
High praise indeed, amongst Picasso, Lichtenstein, and Andy Warhol. So I imagine they'd both be proud of that, even if the records aren't.
Yeah, I know, because of a lot of the actual members of both bands were not keen and have actually really ripped into Dig.
Yeah, I can see why though, can't you?
Yeah,
Because he doesn't portray them, either of them, in the great light a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Off, away from the music. Musically, it's got a great soundtrack.
What do you think are the particular scenes that sort of highlight the
downfalls and the shortcomings?
the clash between art and commerce?
Well, yeah, there's a great scene, isn't there? When so you got the Jonestown, they've got recorded. You got A&R men sniffing around them because they look the coolest band. Even the Dandy Warhols, who look pretty cool themselves.
They
said
were all there in their leather jackets.
Yeah, and they
all
walked
they
up to them.
Do is like drink and snore, and like they're the coolest band.
Coolest
in America.
band,
yeah.
So all the A&R men sniffing around them, want to sign them. They go to a gig, and in typical Jonestown style, really, it ends up in a bit of a mess.
Well, it's that legendary gig at the Viper Room where all the A&R men are there and they're waiting to get this contract. As Anton, we're going to get the biggest record contract ever. We're going to get this and that. And it just turns into a farce.
A fight, doesn't it?
It turns into a fight.
Yeah. Well, he's actually he's encouraging the bouncers to beat up the audience, and then he starts. Well, the guitarist Matt Hollywood, he starts smacking him round the head, and they're scrapping on the floor.
Joel Guihon is absolutely, I don't know why I said that in a French way, but Joel Guihon, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
He just walks around with his hands out.
He is just absolutely off his head. It sort of reminds me of Jim Morrison, the story of him in Amsterdam. And he takes every drug and every drink that's offered to him, and he's like staggering around. And Joel just looks like the epitome.
He does, doesn't he?
Which I would have guessed he would want to.
Yeah, definitely. And these A&R men and all these record executives are looking on in horror. Anton gets up off the floor after beating the shit out of his guitarist and says, "This next song's a song about love."
Well, fuck love.
And, they didn't get signed, did they? Because of that.
Well, surprise, surprise, they didn't get signed. And one of the A&R women who features in Dig actually sort of says that she spoke to the A&R crowd and they said, "What a great name. What a great look. What a great band." But, they're just...
Unmanageable.
yeah. Didn't Seymour Stein of Sire Records, who founded Sire Records, didn't Seymour Stein said, with a name like that.
It's a great name in itself, Seymour Stein, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't go wrong with
a
name like that.
No, you can't.
Them up.
Yeah.
Which I think says a lot, because the name in itself is interesting, an amalgamation of the late great Rolling Stones guitar player Brian Jones, and obviously the Jonestown Massacre. What a name! What an absolute name! What a fantastic amalgamation of two very iconic 60s, 70s events, artists and events.
The Reverend Jim Jones. That's another podcast in itself, isn't it?
That is another podcast in itself, but I think it sort of says a lot about the band.
Yeah, definitely, because,
it sort of says a lot about their sort of take
the cult following as well, which is quite relevant.
Cult following, his Christ-like position in the Jonestown.
There was that point for about a year when he was just walking around wearing his almost like a sarong type Jim Jones follower kind of.
Well, there's that bit where they've got that picture of Christ and Jones got it in his hands and he sort of like sneakily points to it and he goes,
yeah. Well, I mean, maybe.
It is an absolutely hilarious.
And at the time, you've got the Jonestown completely trashing any chance they've got of having this career, basically, in the mainstream media. You've got the Dandy Warhols basically sucking corporate cock, really, doing whatever they need to do to get on.
Well, they get signed to Capitol, don't they?
They do, and then they go and they do a photo shoot, don't they, for Capitol? And rather than go to their own places to do this shoot, they end up turning up at Anton's flat
in LA.
yeah.
Where their previous night they'd been drinking with Harry Dean Staunton.
Yeah.
Singing Mystery Train together.
And shooting up heroin.
And it's kind of like traversed, isn't it? It's kind of like cut, where you see their party and you see the Dandies party and their party.
The party's like a record executive party,
and the Jonestown is this, I don't know, absolutely wonderful, truly bohemian happening. Yeah. And you guess that the Dandies is, in particular, I think Courtney Taylor, in my opinion, wants to sort of have...
He wants that rubbing off on them,
he wants that to rub off on them, and in many ways is using the Jonestown to forward his own career. And using their image to sort of say, this is what we're like.
Yeah.
And it's not really happening. As some of the members of the Jonestown say, where's the dough, baby? Where's the dough? You know what I mean? You're going to pay us with it.
Yeah. I mean, and we don't want to sit here totally and diss the Dandy Warhols because, they did put the work in. They didn't just suck over a cock.
Yeah.
They put the work in. They gigged and Jonestown toured and gigged, but it was chaos a lot of the time.
I think maybe they were more, even though Courtney Taylor wrote most of the songs, he must have either been quite a benevolent dictator or there must have been more of a democracy with people like Hallstrom and Z as well.
Yeah. Well, that's what that one A&R woman said, didn't she? She said the Dandies, they've got the look and that they are more of, they've just got that structure. And as a band, that's what we want. We want a band that's going to turn up on time. That's not going to turn up shooting up heroin. That can have the look of it and pretend to be that.
What do you make of the, was it Not If You Were the Last Junkie on Earth? Do you think that is about them and about Anton?
Definitely. And then there's been a great moment in the film where Anton then, when he hears that, decides, right, fuck you, I'm going to write you a song.
Was it Not If You Were the Last
Dandy on Earth? Yeah. And then he actually gets Courtney Taylor to sit in his car, puts it on the car stereo, and plays him this song that he's just slagging off.
He takes it really well.
He does, doesn't he?
Because he does go, I will tolerate that, Anton.
Yeah.
Because he just makes such wonderful music.
But you said earlier, and I think this is quite a good point. I think he took it well, but I think there was also because he would follow them on tour, wouldn't he? But I think sometimes it was almost to revel in their chaos and their collapse.
Well, my band's not like this. We're signed to Capitol.
A bit gloating.
It came across like that to me. There's maybe
I agree. I think it was
slightly. I think
an element of gloating, but also an element of
watch it and hate Anton, or you either love him really. And I think maybe both of us come from the sort
total
we totally love him.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I tend to sort of see him as the hero or the anti-hero of the piece.
I think it depends, doesn't it, as a viewer.
It could depend
what
on
you want from your music, what you want.
Yeah.
But for me, for
maybe
us,
that's going a bit too deep about too Freudian, letting know who you are. But I think it does. It's like a little sort of like Rorschach test to see what somebody's like. Are you going to be for the Dandy?
Yeah, who would you wear? Yeah, what t-shirt would you wear?
Are you going to be like for the Jonestown?
Yeah.
Who do you go for?
Yeah.
I think it's quite
always the underdog, man.
Yeah.
But real as well. They were real. I think they were real, and I think that's what that documentary shows, that they stuck to their beliefs. They didn't sell out. They didn't, to their detriment as far. But then when we look at it now, I mean, this is the argument we were talking about earlier. You got short-term commercial success, playing stadiums, doing Nokia, adverts, and
Well,
celebrity
the only
jingles.
thing with the Dandies is how do you actually have a song called Bohemian Like You and then it's all over a Vodafone advert?
I know.
I've always found that a difficult pill to swallow.
Same, I love that song.
Because Bohemia, by itself, by its definition, is about being unconventional and by being countercultural and going against sort of mainstream.
I'm sure when he
culture.
wrote that song, it wasn't with that phone in mind, you know? There are loads of other phones out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's just selling out afterwards. I think that's where they came short. Because, I could put it out there. I think the second Dandy Warhols album is amazing. And Godless, I think, is one of the greatest songs ever written, which I think is probably about Anton anyway.
I actually find that over the years it doesn't stick.
Yeah.
For me.
What, the album or the tunes?
Some of the tunes.
Yeah.
I went after Dig, because in the beginning I wasn't that much of a fan. And then after Dig I became a fan of the Dandies as well, and certainly 13 Tales from Urban Behemoth.
Yeah, that's the album I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, in time, I don't know if I find that it sort of... You watch Dig again...
What, pastiche or...
I actually think it owes a lot to the Jonestown.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and its sound.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know that, there's yet again, I don't want to sound too academic, but that postmodern idea about music.
Do you think it's also, though, because they went to Capitol and then, the best producers, it sounds really polished compared to the Jonestown's lo-fi sort of recordings that Anton basically did in his bedroom. Most of Anton's albums were recorded in his bedroom. So it's got that lo-fi quality.
It loses a lot of that.
It loses a lot when it's too sparkly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's too pop, I think.
Yeah.
It's too... Not that I love a lot of pop music. One of my favourite bands of all time is the Beatles. I consider them a pop band. I even consider the Smiths a pop band in many ways. But where was I going? It probably does suffer from too much sheen, and I love that lo-fi element of the Jones. I just love their chaos. Like the Pistols, were meant to be like, we're going to cause chaos. Was Cash for Chaos? I don't think maybe Anton's really coming from chaos. I think there's a genuine...
I think that's what you can definitely say about Anton in particular anyway, that it was never about the money, was it? It wasn't.
I don't think it is about the dough. I think it's about artistic...
and I think he has to get the songs out because he's such a prolific songwriter. We're talking like an album every year.
Yeah, which, we're absolutely...
Since 95, and he's, still making albums now, still touring. And that was the point I was trying to make earlier, really. The short-term success of the Dandies playing stadiums and that. But where are they now? Anton is still releasing Brian Jonestown albums, and people are still buying them. He's still touring. With bated breath for them to come over and play Britain again.
One of the things for me was it was 2003 watching that, and I suppose you did have a lot of bands around at the time. But I consider him to be one of the greatest rock star of that age.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the greatest rock stars of that age, and maybe the truest.
What about
he doesn't like the term rock star though, because I was watching an interview on Channel 4 and he said that he rock and roller, I don't know, or just
he called himself a folk musician the last one, but he's so contrary that I think a week later he'd say that he was just into, I don't know,
I would have liked it if he
craft
said
work.
Free rock and roll from the man.
yeah. Well, he did say even in the Dig documentary, didn't he? He wanted to start a musical revolution.
Yeah, and the Dandies were going to do it together.
Yeah,
that them and the Dandies were going to do it together. Was they like you've been talking about this? About like how there was a scene, and how that in many ways they were actually friends.
Yeah,
as well.
That's why you can understand how Anton. Well, they did. They fell out because Anton believed that Courtney had sold out. Courtney from on the other side. I mean, it's quite sad really because I think they both were looking at each other with envious glances. Courtney got everything that...
Pete Hallstrom, am I pronouncing that name right as well?
The guitarist.
The guitarist from the Dandy Warhols. He sort of said they kind of wanted to be like each other. Yeah. The one not really wanting to go...
Well, I think there was always that envious glance.
Was there jealousy from Anton from
I think there was a certain element. I think there was... Because he would have done it differently. I think, Anton wanted success, but on his terms. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Otherwise, why would he just wouldn't bother getting up and gigging, would you? Just record albums in his bedroom. I think he wanted that. He wanted that
complex person, perhaps. You listen to his interviews. I think he's a very intelligent guy.
Very intelligent. Yeah,
he understands the sort of economic situation of things really, really well. I
mean,
I wouldn't choose to mess with him, really.
And only he could tell us what he ever wanted from a musical career. Anton might come on here and tell us exactly what he wanted from the start and where he is now and what he wants and how he feels. But from what and going from that's all you can do with artists, isn't it? Is take from their music, their lyrics, their interviews.
I think the great thing about him is an authenticity about him, which is a word that's very looked down.
And he's kept that throughout the years. That he's stuck to what he believes in. Of
character. You think that he is true to who he is. Thank God he's still alive. With all the smack that he was in. And
he's clean now. He's cooking now and stuff, isn't he?
Yeah. That was I flicked you over now.
I love that. I love that.
I just hope that he's all right, really, and at peace with himself.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
He's living in Berlin now, isn't he? So.
Yeah, I know he lives in Berlin now, and they're still making music. And I think it goes to show very open-minded he is. He's willing to explore where he's living. He's willing to explore the European condition. He's willing to explore ideas of where he's living in Berlin, about Berlin and Germany. He's taking on the German language.
German lyrics.
I think that goes to show how really open-minded he is. This is, as somebody says...
He hasn't made a krautrock album yet, thank God.
Music, Oh, I'd love to hear that.
I mean, he has been true to his sound. We can say this guy. We were talking about the music.
He might be a kind of fella that hates us using the word krautrock. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's many people that absolutely.
You can't say krautrock anymore.
No, you can't say krautrock. I do personally, and I don't really give a shit. I shouldn't. Yeah, I don't.
Although saying that, there has been, when you look at a lot of the, especially the latest tracks, a lot of the drums very can-like. So just.
But he's absolutely amazing, really. What do you think? Because every time I was reading these things, people are always talking about them as a sort of postmodern band. What do you think of that? Do you think their music is postmodern or? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, it's not completely. Yeah, it's not pastiche in an Ocean Colour Scene way.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's deeper than that. Far deeper than that, and
it does, because you can kind of see that in its ironic kind of take on the '60s kind of cultural ethos.
Yeah,
but at the same time, postmodern is meant to be about the sort of ending of grand narratives, such as sort of Marxism, such as Christianity, and so on and so forth. And in that, you have eclecticism and rejection of categorization. Is sort of
they do that just in the band.
And they do that in the band. So I would can see how they are called postmodern. That is an imperative of postmodern discourse. And I find it interesting, and I wonder if it relates, and maybe you might say this is a load of bollocks, but he sort of said that his music is a dark sarcasm, and I was wondering if it related to that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of postmodernism is always thought...
A lot of his lyrics, a lot of the song titles, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Bring me the head of Paul McCartney on Heaven Mills. On Heaven Mills Wooden Stump.
I thought we re-evaluated Paul McCartney and we loved him after Get Back.
Yeah, we did. But this is Anton's song title, not mine.
No, I'm only pulling it.
And many other great songs, great album titles. Thank God for Mental Illness.
Thank God for Mental Illness. Take It From the Man.
Take It From the Man, exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I think he was always playing with that.
Did he mean take it from the man as in you've got to take this shit? Or did he mean take it from the man? Get what you can? I wonder. He's a really intriguing person, I think.
Yeah.
It's I'd be scared of him.
Yeah.
I'd be scared of his intellect, but I would absolutely love to have a chat.
Fascinating.
I'd love to have a chat with him and sort of
And to do it, and this is where I don't think he gets the credit as a songwriter, to do it over, what are we talking now, 27 years? 95? Yeah, 27 years.
Most accounts said they formed in 1990, so that's
I suppose the first official release of Methadone, wasn't it, in 95?
But they were
getting anything earlier than that. I don't know, bootlegs and stuff like that.
I wonder about like the. I don't want to sound nostalgic or sentimental. I don't remember. But like the effects of, like, you sort of see this real tragic scene where his father talks to on camera.
Oh yeah.
And you end up finding out that his own father killed himself on his birthday, on Anton's birthday. And I just wondered what were the effects of, like...
That's going to affect you, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. His father wasn't, sadly, wasn't alcoholic. And there's no fucking judgment here, man. But, like, you wonder what that effect... You know, he's got an album title, thank God for that.
Yeah, and the lyrics, are there?
Yeah, the humour of it.
Mum and
dark
Dad.
humour of it. Yeah.
Two best friends I never had.
Yeah, I've always wondered that about him, really.
I think he's one of those musicians, so it's not, this isn't an Adele where we put out an album every 5 years, is it? This is somebody, the music pours out of him, which is why he's released so much over the years, and why he is so prolific, and that's sort of well away. It doesn't matter, he does reinvent himself, but he's still same way that Weller does, that same ethos of what he believes in musically, spiritually, that stays the same, intellectually.
Yeah.
But it has to come out. It has to come out somewhere, If it didn't, it would be in another way.
This is not a stupid human being.
No.
You watched that interview when he was in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Fantastic take on sort of like bass culture and things like that, and like talking about like the idea of like just bass music just to create a certain
really
fun. Create a certain kind.
But what I love about him as well, it can be so. And I love that in all my musicians, to be honest. That contrariness. In one interview, can come across so intellectual, so deep, and then the next one, it just depends. I think it depends on who they're being interviewed by. So they just play that. I'm going to fucking wind you up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm going to be everything you don't expect me to be. So
But
it's mind games.
It's like you say, he's lasted longer than the Dandies in many ways, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's more of a cultural figure. Even in the NME at the end of 2009, going into the new decade.
Yeah, that's
the
a long time ago.
Going into that, he was classed as one of the most essential figures of that.
Was he by the enemy?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's really true.
And then, even 12 years on from that.
Like he sort of says, like Peter Haynes it's Peter Haynes, isn't it?
Yeah.
From Black Rebel Motorcycle.
Yeah.
He played in the Brian Jonestown.
Yeah, he did.
He nourished and found these musicians that went on to bands like the Black Rebel Motorcycle.
Yeah, and they all speak really highly of.
Yeah.
There's not many, when you read interviews, and Joel in particular, he's had his, because I can't imagine Anton's always the easiest person to be around. Like most prodigies, musical prodigies, he's quite pretentious, I imagine he's quite dictatorial, and in the band we see quite a lot of that.
He's got an ego.
He's got an ego, but they all speak of him with love, and even Courtney Taylor.
Well, it's like at the end
of Dig, isn't it?
Where he goes the White Stripes.
Yeah.
Why don't they tell anybody who they're influenced by? It's like it's kind of like, I think he had an absolutely, with that sort of digging out of certain musical of a certain historic kind of music. He kind of created the sort of landscape for people like Jack White.
Yeah, definitely.
I also sort of think it's interesting how he's using the computer, how he's using the internet way before other people are.
Yeah.
And that sort of makes him sort of like...
That's all part of the revolution,
even though the music is meant to be, I don't want to use the word derivative, but in contact then with, and influenced by 60s music. It's kind of like makes him very modern.
Yeah.
And he talks about Napster at the end. He understood the climate and the culture that was going to come 20 years into the future, I think. And I think that makes him very modern.
Do you think that's why...
Very canny.
Do you think that's why he was so wary of record companies then? It wasn't so much self-sabotage. It was more a case of, I know you're going to rate me musically, financially, and I'm not going to let you. I'm going to have control of my own. Because at the end of the day, he has now. He's
I could
music's licensed to him.
The landscape, like that fantastic Bowie interview with Paxman, where Bowie talks about it.
Yeah.
And I think he's canny enough and intelligent enough to see that, really. And I think that's really quite smart.
Yeah.
You can see the landscape changing and how he could use, because he's always on MySpace, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's always on YouTube. He's like, he uses these outlets so well.
Yeah.
And you don't get the sort of Taylor Swift vibe where, like, you're thinking there's a load of A&R people or
They're behind it
or lawyers behind.
No, this is Anton in his bedroom, putting down his hash pipe and just writing another song and recording it at the same time.
Yeah, no,
in one take, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I think could be quite a perfectionist.
Do you think so?
Yeah, like that bit was, "This is why you love me, because this is going to come in now."
Yeah.
And he obviously it's obviously got this musical brain.
Well, there's that bit in there, Dick, and he's just walking around playing all the different instruments.
Yeah.
Again, very similar in a lot of ways to who we were talking about in the last podcast, Arthur Lee. There's a lot of similarities between the two. That single-mindedness, that bloody-mindedness, the ego.
Some self-sabotage.
And self-sabotage, but talent pouring out of them.
Yeah.
And, I can't imagine a higher compliment than being compared to Arthur Lee.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm sure that if there's a man who knows forever changes, it's Anton Newcombe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's funny, isn't it? Like, maybe I'm veering off what we're talking about, but like how the Dandies sort of saw themselves as a very lucky band because they went through France.
They said the Jonestown are unlucky and we're lucky.
Yeah, and then they went through like the States and they went for the South and they had like something like a smidgen of dope on them or something. And it ended up being sort of very. I don't know if it was because of the cameras, sorry, Anton, but took it really well.
Yeah.
Like really behaved, really, look, I'll own up to this, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But with the Dandies didn't they bribe the, am I making that up or turning them into something worse? Am I turning this into some sort of like, 70s story?
Who did they bribe? The police. The police. Probably, the record company would have got them out of it, wouldn't they? Probably. There's that great scene, isn't there, where when Anton puts on his roller skates, takes literally a carrier bag of the new Jonestown album on vinyl.
Oh, well, he's in the roller skates. He's got that
fantastic hat. And he goes to the gig, it's like isn't there like an after party for the Dandies? And he turns up there with Jonestown records and starts giving them out to people, and he gets kicked out. But even then, the Dandies still haven't got that love and admiration for him, even though they're like, I know he gives them a package with bullets with their names on them.
But isn't there a guy in the Dandies, the drummer, I'm not too sure, I can't remember who it is. And he's like, "Oh my God, man, don't put me near him." And like, he's really shitting himself.
Really scared. They're going to get killed.
Fucking crazy. Like, what the hell is wrong with him? It's absolutely hilarious. It's so funny. I hope he's that funny and entertaining in real life.
I don't know.
I remember when we went to watch them live. I couldn't believe how good they were.
Oh man, they're amazing. When did we go? What year did we go? About 2000.
I can't remember actually the exact date of it. It was in
about 2007. It must have been,
wasn't it?
About 2007, 2008, I think. Because the record shop was there, wasn't it? Mm. That was a great gig, man. They were amazing that night. Wolverhampton.
I thought they were better live than they are on record.
Yeah.
I don't know if you think that.
Yeah, no, totally.
I thought they were. I thought like, wow,
amazing.
fucking hell.
I think a lot of that.
I thought it was like, maybe you wouldn't like this, but I thought it was like sort of Sydney Elevators or something.
Yeah. He'd love that to hear that. Who would not want to hear that? Hey man, you sounded like Rocky Erickson. Fuck yeah, I'd take that. Fuck yeah.
I thought it was amazing. It was like, oh, this is psychedelic.
But do you not think that's also down to a lot of the lo-fi sort of recordings again? Because, a lot of the early stuff.
Yeah, because one reason maybe,
a lot of stuff would have been recorded on 4-track, 8-track.
I would have loved to seen what they would have done with some money in the studio, really. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's just not his
John Leckie producing.
Yeah, or something like that. But then I don't think Anton, as
would go for that.
Would go for that.
No, total auteur, musical auteur.
Yeah.
Wanted it how he could hear it in his head.
Yeah.
And if that's the sound in his head, that'll fucking do me. Because, amazing. So the documentary we definitely recommend anyone to watch if you like music and you love documentaries. It's the perfect package. So definitely go out and watch Dig. Should we talk about some
musical choices that
we've
some
come
albums and some
we've
songs.
come up with some, haven't we, that we think we should throw out there for people. And so if you haven't heard of the Brian Jonestown Massacre and you want to know where to start,
we're eulogising, and this is a eulogy.
This is a eulogy. This is a eulogy. So albums we've got. Well, should we read some out?
You go first, man.
Well, I've got Mephedrone. I've got their Satanic. I love this title. Their Satanic Majesty's Second Request. I've got Bravery, Repetition, and Noise. I've got And This Is Our Music, and because this spans a lot of time. These albums, a lot of these albums I've mentioned are earlier albums, but I think the last album that he's released, he's probably released another album since we've done this podcast. But the last album,
three.
But the last album he released, just the self-titled Brian Jonestown Massacre, is an amazing album.
Yeah,
and that's a good place for anyone
it's a great album. I wrote that down as well. Like Brave, Repetition, and Noise. I put Thank God for Mental Illness,
which is a great title.
Which is a fantastic title. I love that title. And
great cover as well.
A great cover, absolutely fantastic.
Joel's face too. The lipstick.
And Give It Back.
Oh, Give It Back's a great album as well.
Yeah, it's got Supersonic on it, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
Maybe one of my favourite Jonestown tunes. What about tunes?
Yeah, tunes. I've got Servo.
I've got that one.
Probably my favourite Jonestown tune, and I think it's like just one of my all-time favourite tunes of all time ever. Is Anemone.
Me too.
That's
my number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed now when they do it live now, he doesn't have, because honestly, I don't know who the female singer was on it, but he sings that himself. He sings it live now himself rather than have a female singer, and it works just as well. In fact, it actually is amazing.
Yeah, no, because you sent me some footage over it. I thought it sounded great. Actually.
Yeah.
I thought it sounded amazing.
Yeah, because it slowed it down. Well, probably less drony now, but more rhythmic.
I love the fact that he loved drone.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
he took the Indian drone, and maybe the sort of Jesus and Mary chain thing as well.
Loads of that,
I love that, the aesthetic of the drone that he had. I think that's fantastic. Jeff Daniels was an absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely, man.
I think.
Definitely. Yeah. I've tunes. I've got When Jokers Attack.
That's what I have.
Great tune, that. Nevertheless, which
I have.
Remember when we covered that when we were doing our little band thing?
Yeah, no, definitely, and Servo as well.
Servo, yeah.
They were part of like being in a band, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely. I think if you watch Dig, and you go, I want to be in that band.
I want to be in that band, and
I'd want to be in that fucking band. You wouldn't mind being in either band, really, would you? But
I know which one I'd rather be.
I know which one I'd rather be. So, yeah.
I sound like I'm dissing the Dandies. I'd have to go back and have a listen to them. It's not like I don't respect them. It's just that I don't know.
What other tracks have we got, man?
I love the chaos.
I've got Wisdom from Mephedrone. Mephedrone, I think, is an amazing album. But Wisdom, I love that tune off that. And what else have you got? Sailor. I forgot about Sailor.
Oh, you've mentioned all the stuff I was doing.
Then you've got Supersonic down as well.
Supersonic, I love. It's probably one of my favourites.
It's great tune.
Is that an answer to Oasis? Is this like
I think so, definitely.
You can write a song called Supersonic, but I'll write one better, and I think it is better.
Was a bit in Dig where they take that cut out of Liam Noel. And then they put their faces either side of it.
Yeah, because there's that bit, isn't it, with Joel, and they go like, "What's that stuff about you and the Dandies?" And he goes, "Oh, we'll move on, man, and we'll go on to Oasis, and we'll fucking take them."
Yeah, we'll take them on. Wouldn't it be
like a prize fighter?
That's almost the only. That's the only thing that teases about that documentary. When you think, imagine, like you said earlier, we were talking about, was it sabotage or was it just him keeping it real? And you said, I I was going to self-sabotage, it'd be after I got the record contract, yeah. So imagine if they'd have got
That makes me
massive...
sound like the sellout.
No, but I totally agree.
The Clash sellout when they signed to CBS.
No, I totally agree with you. I'd have done the same. I'd have had that first, and then at least you've got something to destroy.
But
you've
you've got to make great music, haven't you?
Yeah. But imagine if they'd got massive...
If I had something really great to offer, I would have loved to have done it that way.
Yeah. But imagine if they'd have got to those peaks. Imagine it wasn't Blur v Oasis, but the Jonestown up there. How do you think, how entertaining would that have been?
Oh, it would be amazing.
They would have just destroyed any contemporary.
I would have just ejaculated everywhere. Can you imagine, like, Anton on, like... I don't think he would have gone on the news or something. But he was on Channel 4, maybe he would have.
Yeah.
On Newsnight or something. Like, you know, like and then on top of the pops.
And that's what I mean. Do you think if he had that platform, he would have, because he is such an articulate, intelligent guy, he'd have had that platform, he would have used it in a far better way than Liam talking about bollocks, you know what I mean? Or Noel talking about fucking The Edge.
Yeah, the Joshua Tree.
Or going to fucking Downing Street.
I don't think he would have never gone to Downing Street, and he
Definitely
wouldn't have. He wouldn't have done Nebworth. Perhaps, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Anton would have. I would love to ask him that.
I'd hope not, though, wouldn't you?
I hope not.
And that's why we love him, isn't it?
Yeah, he would have gone and done the like the Whiskey A Go Go.
Or done the Jack White and gone around playing nursing homes or something like that, you know. And that
Played
aspect.
South America like Jack White.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope so.
Do you think Jack White's a fan then?
Do I think Jack White's a fan? I hope he is.
Jack White, can you let us know if you're a fan?
I think he should. Be.
I'd hope so.
Yeah, I would like.
You listen to like the early White Stripes albums.
You know, it's like you got Peter Haynes. Yeah, you listen to the early White Stripes album. Didn't they use a lot of techniques?
Yeah.
And he hadn't he? Instead of maybe 60s based music and psychedelia, and Anton had contemporary influences as well. But you know, didn't he do what Anton Newcombe did with the blues?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What Anton Newcombe had done with 60s counterculture and psychedelia, didn't Jack White do with the blues?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
I'd hope he was a fan.
I do as well. I think wasn't Tim Burgess a fan?
Was he?
I think so.
I imagine he would be. The Charlatans are really similar in that way, aren't they?
Yeah,
I love the Charlatans, man.
Yeah.
I'd hope so. Yeah.
I know that. I think Tim Burgess is a big fan of Marky Smith, and got on with Marky Smith.
Yeah,
so
that was been quite hard.
He's got a history of being with sort of cantankerous, wonderful bastards. So, like, you know, maybe he did. You know what I mean?
But if you haven't heard of the Brian Jonestown Massacre and your name's not Jack White, then go and listen to them, because they're a great band. And if you love 60s music, if you love psychedelia, if you love music in general, then go and listen to them. Can't say more than that.
I would say that what's the compilation album?
Oh, the Tepid Peppermint Wonderland. Yeah. Like it's like the red album or the blue album for the Beatles, isn't it?
Just go and get a copy of that. Go and get it wherever from, preferably on vinyl. And and I'm saying that, and I've never been a vinyl junkie really. I've always been lazy, but I do think it sounds the best.
It does, yeah.
It's
go
like a
listen
good
to that.
cigar. And go and have a listen to that. And if you think that's any cop, as they say in these parts, go and go and enjoy more. You know.
Yeah, it's a good starting point, isn't it? It's the best start.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Especially the early tracks.
And I know they're not fans of him, anyways. But you know, Anton has his problems with it. But go and watch the documentary as well. It's hilarious.
It's definitely. You'll never laugh. You'll never laugh so much.
And if you don't actually love him afterwards, I'm not a violent man. I'm a pacifist. But I might come round your house and fucking blow you up.
You don't want that. But it's a great watch, and it's an even better soundtrack. So yeah.
No.
That's our take on Dig and the Jonestown.
That's our take.
What did we say we were going to do for our next one? We were talking about the Stones, weren't we? Because we can't go this long without
Exile on Main Street.
Yeah.
And I think after doing the Beatles, I feel there's a part of me and a part of my soul that has to do the Stones.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll do that one, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do an Exile.
Just on Exile. Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah.
That sounds wicked.
So yeah, look out for that one, guys. And as always, leave comments or just listen. It'd be nice. We're not fussed, really.
We do love you.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. We'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.